Spoilers are back on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Welcome to the Turf and Touchdowns podcast for this week. Luke Elder alongside Tom Collins, where we're looking ahead to the Travers. And Tom, one of our favourite things to do, talk about sovereignty.
Oh, what a horse. What a horse. I'm looking forward to this. Look, we should preface this by saying it's not the most exciting races from an on-paper look. Like, Sovereignty is going to be a very short price, but we're going to make this podcast exciting. We should hopefully put up a winner at the end, and we are not going to go to the obvious of just saying Sovereignty will win. We're going to go for forecasts and hopefully say how the race is going to pan out as well. And I'm going to give you a spoiler here. I think Luke's going to put up an extra selection, so it's worth sticking around until the end.
That is true. I am going to put up an extra selection because, I thought I'm off the back of a winner last week.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not just go out there and push a bit more out? But look, last week we differed in opinion. I said I think you've read this race entirely wrong and backed it up.
Yeah, I would say I don't think I was wrong as such. I think you were right. You were right with nitrogen, and I was wrong with my opinion on nitrogen. But at the same time, we both said that nitrogen was a good price when we filmed it at 7-2. She then went off joint favourite or narrow second favourite, 13-8-ish. Good Cheer ran a good race, but you are right regarding Good Cheer. That is where I am wrong because I thought she had the capabilities of improving. This year, she is running exactly the same as she did as a 2-year-old. She obviously got away with it in the Kentucky Oaks. It looked like she was very visually impressive that day, but maybe the sloppy track and weak opposition made that happen rather than her taking a step forward. But if you look at her buyer speed figures, her last season, her 2-year-old figures are exactly the same as this year, and she has just not progressed. Whereas Nitrogen, well, she's throwing her hat into the ring, isn't she, for the best Grade 1 filly on dirt and on turf. Mental.
Yeah, absolutely. She's very much taking steps forward. The only thing I got wrong last week is that Lucara came fourth instead of last.
Yeah, she didn't stay. I mean, we hinted at that. I thought she could cling on, but Nitrogen was obviously on top at the top of the turn, and there was no way Lucara was even going to hold on for third, let alone second. So, you did a very good job last week. Well done. And you also pointed the viewers in the way of great value.
Exactly. 7-2 into like 13-8. I mean, the 13-8 on the offer, I didn't like that price at all. No. That was a crazy price. But either way, we got the winner. Well done to everyone who followed us in on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. We'll try and do the same again this week because we have got plenty to look forward to, including Sovereignty. Look, regards to the race as a whole, we're going to be looking at Sovereignty as a short price favourite. But at the same time, he is taking on new horses.
Yeah, I suppose it is slightly interesting because Magnitude's in there. If Magnitude wasn't in there, this would be the worst Travers of all time. I mean, some would still argue it is pretty poor, considering in recent years we've had bigger fields, we've had very competitive fields full of Grade 1 horses. This year it's not the case. Maybe Sovereignty has just scared all of them off. I mean, I would be scared by Sovereignty, in fairness. But Magnitude's presence in the field at least kind of makes it a little bit interesting. And there will be people out there, Luke, that actually think Magnitude can beat Sovereignty. Because if you look on buyer speed figures, there's not much between the pair.
Yeah, look, if you look at Magnitude as well, after he won the Risen Star, people were looking at him as a live Kentucky Derby hope. And obviously he was then ruled out. I think the first word we got that he was ruled out for the entire season. And it wasn't that bad. He's come back and he's managed to win subsequently. But we'll get into the pace in a moment and also the international market. We are on the road. It's a new road as well. We've taken a turn. We've managed to, we've got to the 1,000. We've stopped off at a service station. We've got our snacks. We've got our drink. We're good to go for the next bit. We're on the road to 1,500 subscribers, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. We're on the road. I think we're on 1,014 or something similar to that. If we can get to 1,050 at least this week, I think that's a nice little progression in our journey to 1,500. But 1,500 as soon as possible, and then we're on that road to 2,000. You guys really help us with subscribing. So thank you to those who already have. And if you haven't, just click down below. There is a big red button saying subscribe. Costs you nothing. You don't miss any of our content. If you missed our content, that would be just terrible, wouldn't it? You don't miss any of our content. And when Luke and I are just putting up winners, why wouldn't you want to be subscribed?
And also, if you're sat there right now thinking, I'm bored, just click the like button. It's really fun. Click the like button. It helps us out massively. And you're doing a good thing. That's your good deed done for the day. You can live the day as a happy person for the rest of it. What shirt you got on there, Tom?
It's a Lazio shirt. You know what? I don't even support Lazio. I support Liverpool. But I do collect some football shirts. Ones that are good, retro kind of vibe. Quite like this one. What are your thoughts?
It's interesting. It's a bit trippy.
Yellow logo? No?
I wouldn't have the microphone covering up the BINA part.
Hey, look, we don't have a sponsor, so.
Well, I'm not saying that. Just having a word on your chest that ends in NCE.
It's risky.
Right, let's talk about horse racing. We are moving on to Travers. Let's take a look at the international market because Tom hasn't actually seen the international market yet because it has literally just gone up as we're talking. We will get to one or two other markets in a moment, but Sovereignty, Tom, name the price.
Well, we actually spoke about this race very briefly on Sky Sports Racing on Saturday when I announced the entries because I saw it as we were talking on the show. And you said Sovereignty 1 to 5. I said Sovereignty 2 to 5. The morning line is Sovereignty 2 to 5. Let me go international market 1 to 3.
1 to 2.
Hmm.
One to
Now I'm
two is
more
actually
interested.
yeah. Honestly, people hear 1 to 2 and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
1 to 2 is not a bad price.
No. There is a misconception with punting. At short prices, chalks if you're in America, and if they're very short, people think, well, there's no value there. But there is value in short prices. It's all about the current price against the predicted SP. There's no way Sovereignty's 1 to 2 at the off. Surely, I reckon he goes off minimum 1 to 3. He could be 1 to 4 in the US. So I think 1 to 2 is very fair.
Would I have £20 to win 10? Yeah,
Yeah.
100% on that price. Magnitude is 3 to 1. Strategic Focus 15 to 2. Bracket Buster 25s. McAfee 25s. Of the others, I mean, they're kind of what you would expect in the order that you'd expect.
Yeah, no change there really. I think I was expecting if Sovereignty was 1 to 2, I was expecting Magnitude to be a little bit shorter just to kind of even it out in the market. But that's a very fair international market right now, and I'm intrigued at the price of Sovereignty for sure.
Yeah, I think with Magnitude, traders have gone, we'll dangle the carrot, but we don't want to give you the each way angle. We don't want to even
Yeah.
give you 7 to 2 because, yeah, you lose a little bit, but then let's just say something does go wrong, suddenly you're onto value. So 3 to 1, I think, is about the right price, honestly, with Magnitude. But Sovereignty for sure could be shorter. Let's look at the pace because there is quite a bit of it in here. Magnitude is a horse that likes to go forward. Bracket Buster can. I don't think Strategic Focus will, but is able to. And McAfee is one who can sit relatively close to the pace. And heck, Sovereignty's now got early speed, apparently.
Yeah, well, that was incredible. The fact that he showed early speed last time in the Jim Dandy and also in the Belmont, to be fair, he showed that tactical pace, despite the fact he wasn't up on the Vanguard. What I would say is usually in these small field races, wherever you go in the US, there isn't that much pace because small field, not many horses usually want to go forward on average. But this spot doesn't seem like that. It looks like Magnitude is almost certainly going to push forward from gate one. His last two successes, which we'll talk about in a second, both came in all the way fashion. So why wouldn't he lead? And Bracket Buster, as you've already talked about, also has that early pace. So those two could lock up. And even if they didn't, Magnitude's going to want to go at a decent gallop anyway, because that's how he races and that's how he produces career best. McAfee is a prominent racer and so is Strategic Focus. Does Sovereignty not just sit last in this race, go back to the old tactics, and then move into contention around the turn?
Yeah, I assume so. I mean, that would make sense. Maybe sit fourth, but he'd be right towards the rear of the field. One thing I like about Sovereignty is that we talk about Saratoga form so often. I know he got beat here in his younger days over a shorter trip, but his best two performances, possibly, not even in the Kentucky Derby, have come here at Saratoga. He posted a 109 in the Belmont, which was a crazy good effort beating journalism. And then obviously he beat Baeza last time in the Jim Dandy when everything was conspired against him in the Jim Dandy. Look, I tried taking him on that day with Baeza. Baeza was an attractive price. It was something that didn't work out perfectly. Yes, he won by a length, but he had to win in a very difficult manner.
He did. It was a tricky kind of race. Look, he broke on terms, and when he breaks on terms, he's never really going to get beaten against that caliber of field, despite the fact that Baeza is very talented. But then it was down the back straight, wasn't it, where Hector Barrios moved away from the rail. Sovereignty then was kind of forced back. They got racing early. Sovereignty looked like he was in a touch of trouble for a couple of strides, and then he ended up coming through, as he does, to win Cosley at the line. I think his Kentucky Derby victory was better than that, I will say, but he was pace compromised in the Jim Dandy. So I suppose you can mark up his effort. Look, this horse is unflappable at the moment. The only way he can get beaten is if he runs at Gulfstream, which just doesn't suit him. In this spot, he should have the perfect setup. He's way the horse to beat on form. As I said at the top of the show, the speed figures give Magnitude a fair chance of beating him. But by speed figures, I don't think we're as much of a believer. Well, I know for a fact I'm not as much of a believer as most people in the US are with them. They are a good representation of how fast a horse can run, but sometimes the figures are inflated. Sometimes they're not actually reflective of a performance. And Sovereignty to me has done way more than Magnitude, and he's been way more impressive than Magnitude. So, albeit those numbers are very similar, Sovereignty to me is head and shoulders above Magnitude at this stage.
Yeah, 100%. Look, Magnitude ran a 108 in the Risen Star. That puts him one spot behind Sovereignty off the Belmont effort. But look, he could be very good, Magnitude. But at the end of the day, he's a horse that we haven't seen as much of as a 3-year-old. He's a horse who's recently come off the back of a slight injury. But he was very good in the Iowa Derby. He's not the horse to beat, but without doubt, he's a horse to catch.
Yeah, he's the horse that could throw it down to Sovereignty. I don't think any other runner in this race could beat Sovereignty, to be honest with you. Even if Sovereignty turns up with his B game rather than his A game, I still think he's beating the other three, hands down. Magnitude could throw it down, and he will be forwardly placed and in the right spot. He also gets Ben Curtis, which is another positive. He has been riding excellently in the US, and he's become a reliable dirt rider, as well as obviously being a good turf rider. We know that from his exploits in England. And yeah, I suppose Magnitude could be a threat. That run last time, I don't know how good Prairie form is, to be honest with you. Okay, the race was the Iowa Derby, like it's an okay race, but I prefer the Risen Star performance from Magnitude. If he can run like that, who knows? Maybe we'll get a race between these top two in the market. If he doesn't, then I think Sovereignty blows on by.
Yeah, I think that is likely to happen. The main thing regards to Magnitude that I love, Ben Curtis on board. I really want this to be his flagship horse. Obviously, he's been absolutely brilliant since he's gone over to America. We know him from his time in England where he was a good rider. He never quite got to that next level, you'd say, Ben Curtis, but over in America, he's done a great job. He's had a few good horses thus far, but Magnitude, I'm hoping will be that horse, but I don't think he beats Sovereignty in this spot. Strategic focus. I mean, let's talk about two starts ago. The most
No, let's not.
ridiculous disqualification that you will ever see, where he got thrown out and Malachuk was given the race, his stablemate. I still don't get what the stewards were looking at in that.
That's absolutely mental. People on socials were actually saying that it was the right decision. It was a crazy call. I mean, he cut across from probably 3 wide on the track, cut across to the rail. It was a dramatic-ish move because he just went away from the crop. But at the same time, he was a length clear of Malachuk. There was no interference whatsoever. Malachuk just literally had to switch out, but he wasn't inconvenienced by the move anyway. It was a crazy decision. Strategic focus should be 2 from 3, and some would argue he should actually be 3 from 3 because last time up, turning for home, he would have been a 1 to 10 shot in running. Like he was on the bridle and everything else was ridden along. He just got run down. Now, my question mark with strategic focus is one, is he capable of running at this level? Okay, it's not the best grade one. It's definitely not the best Travers. But two, does he stay the trip? Because he got run down by a couple of horses who are okay, but they haven't really become top level 3-year-olds. And I don't know about this step up in distance for him. Look, he could easily capitalize if they go hard up top and run second in this spot, but I don't see him outstaying Sovereignty by any imagination.
No, I don't think he'll outstay Magnitude, honestly. That was the exact same worry that I had. Turning for home, he looked great. Like, he looked full of run in the curling, and then he got to the final furlong, and I don't want to say tapped out because that's a bit harsh. He didn't completely stop, but you could
No.
tell he was running on empty a touch, and he was beaten by Chance McPatrick and So Sandy. They're horses that, well, especially with Chance McPatrick, looked like an absolute superstar at one point, and he just hasn't gone on from that. He's an interesting horse to strategic focus, but for me, I think his future's more over a mile than it is over a mile and a quarter. I really don't like the whole going up in trip angle regards to Chad Brown's runner. But it does lead us into the final two in the betting and in the field. You've got Bracket Buster in here as well. You've got McAfee in here. Pick one. We're going to have a bet between the two in a match bet.
I'll take McAfee for sure.
Okay, bracket buster for me. Let's start with McAfee. Again, at one point, it looked like he might shape up into being a horse who could compete at the next level. It's not happened. They're giving it a go, but he's an also ran for me.
Yeah, and for me, I think he'll finish fourth in this race. He finished placed in the Peter Pan, the Ohio Derby, and the West Virginia Derby. So he has solid form, but all of those are grade 3s. This is a grade 1. He's facing way better horses. Yeah, Sovereignty, obviously, Magnitude, strategic focus as well. He has tactical speed, but he's not going to be on the front, as we've already talked about. Should be in a good spot. Shouldn't have any excuses in the race. Highly unlikely that he is capable of contending the finish.
Yeah, he's a horse that you'd love to own, but at the same time, he doesn't quite belong in this sort of company at the moment. Of the other one, I mean, Bracket Buster, he actually travelled really well through the Haskell, but when he turned for home, the gap in class between him and the better horses was very evident.
Yeah, journalism just put him in his place. Goska too. He finished a fair fourth, but he was beaten a reasonable distance. He's an interesting runner in the race, I suppose. Victoria Oliver doesn't have too many horses go up to Saratoga, so I quite like that. I think this is actually Victoria's second runner at Saratoga in the last year, so that is something. But yeah, he's very hard to like. I think he'll probably finish last in this spot, but I'm glad he's in the field because otherwise we just have four runners and it'll be even less interesting. The one positive I will say about Bracket Buster is that he has early speed, so the fact he's in here at least should push Magnitude a touch in the early part of the race and not make it an absolute dawdle. And that is one thing we want. We want reliable form, and the only way you can get that is if there's speed up top.
Yeah, I completely agree. Bracket Buster, he's an integral part of the contest. One thing we didn't mention with strategic focus, at least I didn't, I don't know if you did, blinkers go on for the first time. I don't get it, honestly.
I can only presume that Chad thought that he wasn't concentrating, and that's why he lost last time up. If that's the case, I buy it because I don't know how he lost that race. It was crazy. He previously won over the distance, so he shouldn't have been as weak as he was, and he got run down by Chance McPatrick, who many people said was a one-turn, 7 furlong horse. So maybe he just lost focus. Interesting and ironic given his name. But I don't hate it. Equally, it's not enough for me to put him above Sovereignty, if that makes sense.
Weren't you one of the people that said that Chance McPatrick was a one-turn 7 furlong horse?
I was, and I agree that he still is. I don't know how he won that race.
Yeah, that is fair. He battled very well, but it's not quite shaped off into the horse that we wanted him to be. Right, Sovereignty wins, Tom.
Yeah.
For selections, who finishes second?
I'm going to go strategic focus. I'm just going to mix it up a touch. I know where you're going with the forecast. I actually obviously didn't see the international market when I put up the forecast here, and I thought Sovereignty would be about 1-3, and I thought Magnitude will probably be 2-1. So that's why I was just trying to mix it up for a bit of value. I don't think strategic focus is completely out of contention for second. He is a talented horse. I just don't buy Magnitude's efforts at the moment. He was great in the Risen Star, but obviously the injury would have set him back a touch. Don't love the Prairie form. So I'm just going to take a chance that he's not as good as Build. If he is, he probably will run second. But I will play as an exactor or forecast if you're in the UK. Sovereignty to be strategic focus.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the simple one. It's boring, but we'll look to build up our funds off the back of last week. I think Magnitude finishes second, Sovereignty. I think Magnitude as a horse is getting better all the while. He's a big unit as well. There's a lot of him. I think a mile and a quarter is really going to suit him. Yes, he's going to jump on the front end. I don't think he'll be pushed that hard, but at the end of the day, I just don't think he's as good as Sovereignty is. I'm hoping that Sovereignty will just run him down, and I think there'll be a bit of a gulf, honestly, between those two and the rest of the field. Like I say, I have got real worries about strategic focus staying. And honestly, this is the sort of track that Magnitude could put in a massive performance at. So it wouldn't shock me if he really did push Sovereignty harder than maybe you were more comfortable with. But it's very obvious, it's very boring, but I think they're the 1-2 in this contest. Before I move on to the special bonus ultra selection, Tom, I've got a challenge for everyone watching at home.
Firstly, you've just absolutely done yourself in if this special ultra selection doesn't win. But go on, what's the challenge?
Right, I'll go into hiding. It's all good. I want. At the moment, we're on the search for a sponsor. I want everyone at home go onto socials, just tag people and say you should sponsor the Turf and Touchdowns podcast.
There could be uproar. There really could be uproar. I'm for it.
I'm looking at Ryan Mantle. I'm looking literally everyone who's watching. Just go and tag people. Be like, oh, you guys should sponsor the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. No matter what they do as a company, within reason. Within reason. Let's not go. Yeah, let's not go too far. But just do it. It'll be fun.
Hey, maybe Lazio might sponsor them.
Ethically, are they all right?
I would presume so.
I mean, I'm just saying because you are a Liverpool fan, and after the first game of the season.
Hey, look, we win games. That's all that matters.
Yeah, sure. The special ultra bonus selection. Editor Joe, I'm sorry for this. You have to do another piece of work this week. It's crazy. My second selection. I think in the forego, the market is so unbelievably wrong. Also this weekend at Saratoga as part of their incredible Grade 1 card. Most Wanted is currently 9 to 4 favourite. That is a rubbish price. Bookham Dano is 11 to 4, Mullikin's 4 to 1, Bishop's Bay is 6 to 1. Bookham Dano should be 6 to 4 in this field. He's proven himself over Mullikin twice. He's getting better and better all the while. Most Wanted, he hasn't proved to me in any way that he belongs in this sort of company. He's not an out-and-out Grade 1 horse, whereas Bookham Dano, we talk about Bucero quite a lot on this podcast, and they've been kind enough to sponsor this podcast as well from time to time. But Bookham Dano is by far the best Bucero out there at the moment. He put in a 111 speed figure last time around. At Saratoga, this horse just comes alive. He's 3 from 4 over at Saratoga. When I'm talking, go take the 11 to 4 now, because it will not last. That 11 to 4 is going to go. Just go take it. Bookham Dano, I think, is a great bet for the weekend. And I honestly think, Tom, he's going to go off more towards 6 to 4.
Yeah, I haven't had a good enough look to firmly nail my colours to the mast, but what I will say is I absolutely agree about the price. I do think he'll be a lot shorter. I think he'll be favourite in this race, and if he's not, then he'll be good value at the off anyway, even if you can't get the 11 to 4. So I'm with you. But that undercard at Saratoga on Saturday is special. I'm looking forward to it. Look, the Travers isn't the best betting race, and maybe you've watched this pod and you've gone, well, I'm not really interested at the prices, even the forecasts. But if you do like your US racing, just watch the undercard, because there are some very good bets there too.
Are you on Sky this weekend?
I'm not, no. I'll be watching from home. It's a rare Saturday off recently, so I'm going to take that. I quite like just watching these big cards in the comfort of my own house, on the sofa, drinks, some snacks, and hopefully some winners.
Yeah, I like not working. It's good. I'll be doing exactly the same. Not on Tom's sofa, on my sofa.
Thank God for that.
What?
Thank God for that. Get off.
Oh. Rude. Some people like socialising. Right, that is the Third and Touchdowns podcast done for this week. We are just under 3 weeks away from the NFL season getting underway, depending on when you're watching this, of course. And we will be back with an NFL podcast, maybe later on this week, start of next week. But we are building up towards that, which we are ultra excited about on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. But for now, until we get to talk to you guys next week, stay safe, look after one another, goodbye.